It's possible that some relationships will be on the cusp of breaking up, but they never really do. It's also possible that you can go through your relationship without having any of the damaging prospect that your relationship will ever come to an end, but still your relationship drastically ends. How do you save your relationship when it's in trouble? Well, that's the answer for the ages. Relationships are different all around, but the truth of the matter is sometimes relationships end, and there is nothing that either of you can do about it. The Relationship Therapy Podcast will hopefully allow you to land softly as your relationship ends.
You've tuned into the Relationship Therapy Podcast with Tony Miller Sr., a podcast designed for couples who are married, couples who are dating, and have marriage in their future. We will guide you to the principles that will make your relationship better. Stick around. You might just learn something that will help your relationship last longer, grow stronger, and become healthier. Now, here's your host, Tony Miller Sr.
Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Tony Miller Sr., and welcome to another episode of the Relationship Therapy Podcast. We are going to finish what we started last week. And last week, we talked about the 4 signs that your relationship is ending. Well, today, we're back giving you 4 more signs that your relationship is ending. Too often, people linger a little too long in broken situations, trying to resuscitate something that is already dead, and they wind up getting hurt more in the long run. Believe me, I'm not a proponent or an advocate of ending relationships without really trying. However, sometimes they just don't work out, and you have to find your way out of it. Let's talk about 4 more signs that your relationship is ending. I just wanted to interrupt this episode just to let you know, if you are a leader, you should be listening to the So You Want to Talk About Leadership podcast. The host of that is my son, Tony Miller Jr., but he is giving you good nuggets, good lessons, good tips on being a better leader. So if you find yourself wanting to be a better leader, listen to So You Want to Talk About Leadership podcast with your host, Tony Miller Jr. Don't miss it. As we prepare to talk about 4 more signs that your relationship is ending, let's start with number 1, and that is your trust has decreased. As I have stated several times during this podcast, trust is another key foundation in order to have a healthy and successful relationship. The troubling thing about trust is that it is so hard to gain and even harder to get back once it is broken. The secret is to never lose it in the first place. But when you start losing trust in your mate, that could be an obvious sign that your relationship is getting ready to end. Trust allows you to be who you are and for you to feel comfortable with your mate. When that is no longer the case, the relationship will struggle. Trust is to rely on one another because you feel safe with them and you have confidence that they will not hurt you or even violate you. Now that your trust has dwindled, you start clocking everything that your significant other does or doesn't do. If anything begins to look out of the ordinary, you start adding it to your negative trust bag. Often there is plenty of opportunities where that trust is broken. Because it has placed you in uncharted waters, you are now feeling like your mate has been untrustworthy the entire time you've been together. They're coming home later than normal without offering excuses or even reasons for their lateness. Maybe they have a new group of friends that you are not familiar with and your mate don't care. Or even could be that they are now focused on something totally different that doesn't include you. The truth is, when you have reached this level of mistrust, it can actually affect you in some of your other relationships too, because you start watching and seeing, who can I really trust? This lack of trust begins with doubt. You start doubting that maybe they're not where they're supposed to be. Then that doubt builds to suspicion. And once you're suspicious about them, anxiety comes next, and it starts formulating ideas in your mind. And then it becomes full-fledged mistrust. Your mate has given you ample reasons not to trust them. And the sad part is they are not defending themselves or denying anything to you. This entire conduct means that they have already turned the page toward a new relationship, or at the least, ending the relationship with you. And you're not a part of their life anymore. That's how important trust is in a relationship. The second sign that your relationship is ending is the thrill is gone. There was a blues singer some years back called B.B. King, and this was one of his songs, The Thrill Is Gone. You would have thought that your relationship would be forever. You two were so much in love, but every relationship has an expiration date. Some make it all the way to the end, and some ultimately ends. But let me say it again. Every relationship has an expiration date to it. That fact can be surprising to so many people who believe that their relationship will make it all the way to the end. Truth is, relationships are tough, and they are a whole lot of work that goes into it. Too many times, one of the partners in the relationship has seen the signs that the relationship is actually over or ending, but they tend to hold on too long trying to make it work. The relationship is on life support. The thrill is gone, and seemingly there is no CPR procedure that can restore it to its old condition. Do you know when the thrill is gone in your relationship? Too often we don't recognize these signs, and that causes us to go in deeper trying to fix what is already broken. Too often there is one of the partners who is walking around with blinders on, thinking that everything is all right. Or if there is some trouble in the relationship, they are sure that it is very small. Some of the reasons for the thrill being gone in relationships are easy to spot, but yet and still there are other reasons that are practically invisible. One thing that makes the thrill gone is lack of boundaries. Lack of boundaries is when an individual together have established what they will and will not put up with in the relationship. For instance, somebody may say, we won't smoke in the house if you're married to a smoker, or we won't do certain things like that. But these boundaries are important to that person for a reason. And when they cross those boundaries, it displays some disrespect to your partner. Another way that you see that this relationship is ending and the thrill is gone, you have consistent financial difficulties. That is because your mate is not learning that certain monies is for the future, and they go on spending sprees. And the case of the can't help it. And the mate who is not handling money correctly causes you to see that the thrill is gone. You're asking yourself, when will they ever learn? Then the couple is always fighting over this money. There is no correction, and so much has happened in the relationship that it seems like there is no way out but out of the relationship. And then the third thing is that that person has changed. It could happen because something traumatic was experienced, like an accident or a blow to the head that has changed their perspective of life. But that mate has been through something, and now they're a totally different person. This difference may be too much for you. This just might be the dangerous part of your relationship and a sure sign that the relationship is ending. I told you, relationships are hard. So far, we've talked about your trust has decreased. Secondly, we've talked about the thrill is gone. And then thirdly, we want to talk about the rhythm of the relationship is off. Oh, I love talking about rhythms of the relationship. See, this is very important for any relationship that has a solid foundation. Each relationship has their own rhythm. That certain ebb and flow of the relationship is the beat that that relationship runs off of. Strong relationships walk in cadence with each other. The problem is when somebody's cadence is off in the relationship. Your mate has misstepped somewhere along the line and it's thrown everything else off. You're now walking out of step and your footprints are no longer matching because your relationship rhythm is totally off. When your rhythm is off, your life seems to be off too, because everything you do in life has a rhythm. And this makes the problem worse. You're not seeing eye to eye on certain things. You and your mate are now using harsh words with each other. You're no longer cordial. And you and your partner are not spending enough quality time together. There's more frustration involved in the relationship than there is love. You can't find any comfort within that person you fell in love with. The love doesn't seem to be there anymore. The rhythm is off. Finding your rhythm in this relationship will be difficult, if not impossible. There's so much that has happened between the two of you. The good times seem to be way in your rearview mirror. They've disappeared while leaving you paralyzed from the reality of it all. Jobs and the hours you work are lightning rods that can throw the relationship rhythm off. You both are like passing ships. Problem is, your ships are sailing in very different waters. Also, another part that can throw your rhythm off is having babies. When you have children, a lot of that time is spent with those children and raising those babies and making sure that they are comforted when they're crying and their diapers are changed and you're feeding them on a schedule. And that throws your romantic relationship rhythm off. And the lack of sleep, along with the constant catering to their needs, is unusual. And it interrupts the flow or the rhythm of your romance and your companionship. If your relationship was already weak before the baby, it's only going to get worse with the child being present. The heartbeat of the relationship cannot be revived just by shocking it. Instead, the best thing that just might be is to pump your brakes and get ready for the inevitable that is waiting. The rhythm is gone. And here's the final one. Here's number 4. Your mate is avoiding you. There is nothing more demeaning than finding out that your mate is cheating on you or other people are aware of it. However, a very close second to that is when your significant other is deliberately avoiding you. It's one thing to try to avoid having arguments with your significant other, but it's something altogether different when you're avoiding them purposely. And this is totally something altogether different. Avoidance has several factors to why it has happened. The first factor is that it seems to be that you or your mate doesn't seem to want to be exposed regarding something they did. They don't want to stay there and have the conversation. Something like cheating or that they're the guilty party and they know that they can't lie to your face. So they will not be there. They will just avoid the conversation altogether. It happens so often to couples who are going through, but their mate's infidelity seems to be found out. It could also be that they're avoiding that conversation that they don't want to be a part of with their mate. But the troublesome part is when they just don't want to be in the presence of that person anymore, or at least not as much as usual. That's a hurting thing to find out, that your mate is taking more shifts on the job to avoid being home with you. That's hurtful. And you don't know where to turn when you find out something like that. Uncomfortable conversations can be hard. In fact, they are hard, especially when it seems like you will be receiving the barrage of complaints or accusations that are coming your way. I haven't met too many men that love having those conversations. But as I stated in the episode called The Steps of Active Conversation, we have to acknowledge our faults and not avoid the hard facts of the conversation. Conversations are needed. We don't like them, but we have to have them. But this outright avoidance might be a clear sign that the relationship has had its best days and you're looking at it coming to an end. Whatever the reason for the avoiding your mate, you have to be a man about it. You have to be a woman about it and let them know what's going on with you. That's the least that you can do. We should never leave our mates dangling, standing there as if the wind is blowing and we're not communicating with them. If we at least once loved them, we have to at least give them a reason why. But far too often, it's like they're left standing without knowing what happened. And that's just not fair. Well, there you have it, the 4 more signs that your relationship is ending. I hope that your relationships are strong enough, it's solid as a rock, and that this doesn't take place. But we have to be honest. Sometimes relationships end, and it's never a good feeling. But we can move past it. But I hope your relationship lasts until eternity. We want you to be that type of couple. Well, that's all we've got for you tonight. We've got one more episode in season 2. So I want you to be with us next week as we are going to finish up the season, but we're going to be taking a little hiatus and we're going to come back strong. So we thank you for listening to this podcast. We hope something that we've said will help you along the way in your relationship, because relationships are important to me. So as in closing, please remember, it takes 2 to make a relationship work.
Thank you for listening to the Relationship Therapy Podcast with Tony Miller Sr. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. Tune in next time for more insight on how to make your relationship better. If you have any questions, please email us at tmrelationshiptherapy@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, it takes 2 to make the relationship work.